Welcome to today's ISP Parer Speaking series, where we connect parents and carers with leading experts to explore leading and future careers, and equip you with tools to have and instigate those meaningful conversations with your child about, the future opportunities that lie ahead across different specialisms. Today, I am joined by Morven Webster from the University of Central Lancashire. Hi, Morven, would you like to give us a quick introduction?
Hi, Gareth. Thank you so much for inviting me today. So my name is Morven Webster, and I'm a veterinary surgeon and a lecturer in veterinary education here at the University of Central Lancashire in Preston in the northwest of England.
Lovely. Well, thank you for joining. It was really exciting to have you on board today. So you're going to talk with us about, how parents can support their child to explore future careers, specifically in veterinary sciences, and how the field is potentially evolving, looking into the future and the opportunities that will lie ahead, and what they might need to develop in terms of skills to thrive in the field of veterinary science in the future. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know how busy it can get at the universities. So listen, I first and foremost want to start by looking at your background. So is it true that before embarking on an academic career, you were a practicing vet for approximately 15 years? Is that the case?
Yes, so I've spent quite a long period of my professional career in first opinion practice, working with large animals, so farm animals and horses, as a first opinion vet. And that's really where my true passions lie. But because veterinary education is important to me, I really wanted to bring those passions to an educational role.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you're potentially bringing two perspectives to this discussion today. So we've mentioned veterinary science. What does that actually mean? How would you define that, and how broad is that as a field?
So that's a great question. Veterinary science is something that is so much bigger than just the job role of becoming a veterinary surgeon. Veterinary science involves anything around animal health, welfare, and not just treating sick animals, but maintaining animals in a good state, in a good health and welfare state. So as a veterinary surgeon, you might be working with a team of veterinary nurses, with a client care team, animal care assistants in a veterinary practice. There are lots of veterinary roles outside of veterinary practice, or you may end up working with different professionals in the veterinary sphere. So like if you were working with nutritionists, veterinary pathologists, veterinary bioscientists, there's a whole heap of different roles that contribute to animal health. It's not just that one central pillar of becoming a veterinary surgeon, which is often the first thing people think of when they think about veterinary science.
Yeah, absolutely. And my next question was going to be, what are the traditional roles that people would associate with veterinary sciences? And I guess moving on, what are the traditional roles that we could potentially be considering as well?
So I guess a lot of young people, when they think about a career working with animals, they immediately think about becoming a veterinary surgeon. But a veterinary surgeon requires a really specific set of skills. It's a long course at university, 5 or 6 years, depending what university you go to. And your role in a veterinary practice can be quite a challenging one. And I think it's really important that young people that are interested in working with animals and have a scientific interest and an aptitude for problem solving are aware of all the different roles in veterinary science, and that they consider those as really valued roles in the veterinary industry. So it's not all about becoming a veterinary surgeon. And we're lucky to have staff that have experience working in all these different roles to bring that enthusiasm to our school. So alongside a veterinary surgery 5-year degree, there are also degree courses that you can do at at the University of Central Lancashire and at lots of other institutions in veterinary biosciences, or you may see it presented as bioveterinary science. And those are really good courses looking at the diversity of different sciences that all fall into animal health. So animal behaviour, looking at anatomy, structure and function, looking at things like, research and how animal research is conducted, conservation, all those different areas that contribute to the body of knowledge about animal health that is our profession, that sits around, and outside of veterinary practice. There are also opportunities for students to train as veterinary nurses, veterinary physiotherapists, and veterinary pathologists. There are lots of different jobs that are part of this whole industry outside of necessarily becoming a veterinary surgeon. So it's important to know what your skills are, what your interests are, and also what sort of job you want to have. When you graduate from university, what sort of role do you see yourself working in, and how does that fit into your bigger plan of becoming a graduate?
Yeah, of course. So it's more than just becoming necessarily a vet. There's a broad range of careers associated with the field as well. And okay, let's fast forward a little bit here. Let's look, 10, 20 years into the future. How do you see the field evolving? And what kind of major trends may be driving this change?
So I think really the role of accessible information and being able to share that information digitally has hugely impacted the development of veterinary science. So certainly artificial intelligence is creeping into healthcare in lots of different roles, and will certainly play a part in how veterinary science changes in the future. The technology side of things, in terms of what we can do for animals, be that surgical implants, different surgical procedures, definitely has a part. But I think the biggest thing really is the integration of animal health with environmental health and human health, this concept that we call One Health, and interdisciplinary collaboration with medics, with environmental scientists. We're starting to realise and put into practice the value of a career in veterinary medicine as part of One Health. And I think that's probably the biggest growing trend alongside the use of technology in the field of veterinary science, is that collaboration and understanding of how veterinary animal health and human health are so interrelated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's isolated to veterinary science either. Most of the speaker series that we've enjoyed so far do suggest that data science, the use of AI to have to be more effective in the way we work, and also the interdisciplinary angle are going to be very, very important looking ahead in the future. So to a parent today and a child that might be interested in this kind of field, do you see that the skills that will be needed will evolve? And I guess what kind of skills would they be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the skills that are needed in veterinary science have very much evolved, certainly since I was a veterinary student, and will continue to do so. Our public, our clients are so much better informed because of the access to information that they have, and they really want to work, with veterinary professionals and find solutions for their animals and their pets. And we need to really understand their perspective as well. So I think the key thing that I would say from my point of view for going for a career in the veterinary industry is that you need people skills. And that sounds a little bit converse, but actually most of, if not all of the animals that we deal with, they have owners, they have people with them, they belong to somebody, they're important to someone. And skills working with people, I think, are the biggest thing and the most important thing going forwards into the veterinary industry, really, that you enjoy working with people, and you have the skills to do it well. I think that is the most critical thing in the future, with this really well informed and public that have high expectations of the services that we can offer.
Okay, so you need to be enjoying working with animals, but also with people. So it's quite interchangeable,
Absolutely.
right? Okay, that's fantastic insight for parents and possible students as well. That's actually a core function of potentially careers within this field. How about experience for students with animals or with developing people's skills? Are there any fun ways that they can go about exploring this and having experiences?
Absolutely, yes. I would recommend that anyone considering a career working in the veterinary industry tries to get some work experience in that industry to see if it suits you, because working with animals, it can be quite hard work, it can be quite messy, it can be quite tiring, it can be quite challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding. And you get to start to appreciate this human-animal bond that we see across so many species. So I think getting some work experience with animals is a really good positive thing. And for some veterinary schools, they will require certain amounts of work experience. So it's important that parents and young people applying to universities are aware of that and what the requirements are. But also, and it's a big thing for our university and a number of the veterinary schools, is having that experience working with people. So if you've worked in customer service or you've been waitering or anything like that, and you have that experience of dealing with people, sometimes when they're under pressure, when they're in a challenging environment, when things aren't going well for them, when it comes to working in the veterinary industry, you'll also be dealing with people that are having a challenging time. They're worried about stuff, and you need to be able to problem solve and support them, really, through that journey with them to help them find a solution. So having that work experience, both with people and animals, allows you to see, I guess, the best and worst bits of the industry and what you're getting yourself in for, and also to really develop those skills and hone those skills that will help you both with your interview, if you have a veterinary application interview, and also in vet school and beyond.
Wow, yeah, that's actually quite a fantastic insight and really, really interesting, I think, for parents, being a parent myself as well. And I guess there's that focus on transferable skills, developing life competencies, from a restaurant to, the veterinary surgery. And those skills that you can develop early on through different experiences can be applied, to a very specialist
Absolutely.
career as well. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So I guess for parents listening, it's not necessarily about having work experience with animals. That's also important, but also, allowing your child to have those experiences to work in a kind of customer-centric environment, like restaurants and part-time work. Okay, that's fantastic advice as well. Any other advice for parents in terms of resources? Are there any websites that could be of interest to their child, or any apps or anything that can help them kind of discover and nurture that passion they might have for working with animals?
Yeah, so there's a few. There's the Veterinary Students' Council, VSC, has a really nice summary of the veterinary schools in the UK and the different requirements, because each school will have different entry requirements and a different approach to what work experience they require and what the application process is. So if your child is at a stage where they're thinking about applying for the degree in veterinary medicine and surgery to become a vet specifically, and this goes for bioveterinary science degrees and other degree courses, not all universities are the same. they approach teaching and admissions all in different ways. So it's important that you know where you might want to go on some open days, do your research, find out which schools you're interested in applying to and the different ways that they go about teaching, because it's as much finding the right fit for you in terms of what university you go to, as well as what career you're thinking about moving into. So I would say that the Vet Students' Council has a good source of information. The Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, they produce some information as well, guidance around becoming a vet and what steps you need to take. But from the point of view of bioveterinary sciences and the wider careers in veterinary science, there isn't one good source or one good hub of information. So it's really, looking into sort of individual universities and what you're interested in studying, where you might want to go. But I would say that most institutions have open days, they have outreach staff like myself that are really keen to answer all the questions that parents and potential students would have. So get in touch with us. That is totally our job to help you ask questions before you come, and make sure that we support potential students to make the right choices and find the course and to find the institution that's the right fit for them.
Yeah, and we are absolutely privileged to have, individuals like yourself with so much knowledge to share, to support the parent and student communities as well to make that right informed decision. Looking to do some myth busting now, in terms of, admissions into veterinary science and various courses. Is it challenging? Is it quite limited and quite competitive to be admitted onto a veterinary science course?
It is, I would say it's competitive in the sense that we have more students applying for the number of places available than there are places. But we have to remember that in the UK, through the UCAS application, students can apply for up to 4 vet schools at a time. So though it's competitive, some people will tell me, oh, you've got a 1 in 100 chance of getting in and this sort of thing. And it's nowhere near that. You have, if you didn't have a good chance of getting in, there would be a huge issue with applications. So I would encourage students to apply if they're, close to or in sight of achieving the grades that they need to. Then I would encourage them to apply. All the different veterinary schools have different criteria, but it's not quite as competitive as people think. And I was a young person at school, and I see it time and time again, people being put off, you have to have a plan B, think about something else, what else do you want to do? And sometimes that can really be discouraging and damp down the enthusiasm of somebody that's really passionate to follow a career that they want. So I would say it's important to encourage young people to aspire to follow their plan A. Yes, we will always, to protect our children, we want them to have another plan. And sometimes in veterinary medicine, you end up on a wiggly path and you take a different route to the career that you wanted. And that's fine too. And I think making our young people aware of that at the beginning of that journey, that just if you don't get in the first time, that might just be a bump in the road. So we want to set people up for success. But we also recognise that there are lots of different routes to studying veterinary medicine. Like many of the universities in the UK, we also offer a foundation course as well, and we have people coming onto that course that have had they've done different A levels, or they've done a previous degree, or they have a real variety of backgrounds. So yes, it's competitive, but it's not as competitive as you think, and there are lots of different routes to studying veterinary medicine.
Yeah, and I guess it's a very exciting time for students as well, as the industry kind of evolves and more opportunities come from that. Even that path might be even more wiggly than it might be now as well. So it's about just finding the path that works for you as an individual, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even in the future, the way tuition fees are funded and managed is perhaps going to be changing a little bit more. So there will be more opportunities and different routes into veterinary medicine and veterinary science going forwards. So there might even be parents that are interested in applying, as well as potential school students, school leavers.
Well, there you go. Well, there's a nudge for our parent community there to to pivot into veterinary sciences. But thank you. That's been a really enjoyable discussion, and I've really enjoyed listening to, the future careers that are available within the really broad topic and fields of veterinary science. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's nice to be involved in an industry that is future proof, that is sort of giving back to the wider community, and that you get to feel that you really sort of pay it forward, as a professional person. So yeah, we're very proud of the veterinary industry, and for all the negative press that it sometimes gets, it's a community of really great people trying to do good stuff and look after people to keep that up. So I'm very, very proud of them.
Well, thank you very much for preparing the students of the future for veterinary science. So that's fantastic. We do appreciate, the work and the dedication that you have. So for those watching, remember we are in ever evolving world at the moment. The world is changing rapidly, and the skills that we nurture in our children today will, set them up and to thrive in the future and succeed in the future as well. So thank you for joining us. Please do visit the full A to Z series, where we have many episodes looking at many disciplines and fields that might be of interest, with that core focus on future careers for your children, and to support you to have those conversations and be confident with those conversations as well. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.